Pleasant Monday morning, one and all. Welcome to today's episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption, Incompetence. Welcome. Today is Monday, the 25th day of November in the year 2024. I hope you all had a pleasant weekend. You're looking forward to a productive week. So welcome. And as we would keep reminding you, when you come on, share the live, let people know that we are on. Subscribe, like the channel, and you are going to get the notification. We have many students in the schoolyard this morning, anxiously awaiting class to commence. The program was scheduled just about 7, and immediately we had students in the schoolyard. As a matter of fact, some people reached out to me this morning to find out, say they weren't getting on. So I had to remind them that the school gate will be open at 7. So once we open the school gate at 7 o'clock, the students pile in. And when we went live a few seconds ago, the numbers are already climbing rapidly. The only thing that is not climbing is a thumbs up. You are not doing well when you come on the live in terms of giving us the thumbs up. Yes, so here we are this morning again to bring you credible, valuable information. My colleague, Mr. Conway, is in the studio, a little under the weather this morning, but he told me that nothing is going to stop him from being here. So here we are once again this Monday morning with lots and lots to tell you. Another day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Let's give praise and thanks to be in the land of the living. It's a privilege to have been allowed to see this new dawn. So yes, welcome. We had a very explosive revelations over the weekend, and we are going to bring them to you. We're going to analyze. We're going to bring these things to you. You know, never a dull moment in the land of many waters. Never a dull moment. We had our program, our anniversary program on Friday, which incidentally was well attended. And again, I wish to compliment all of you students for taking the time out to finding the time to be here on Friday, which is not the usual scheduled program. But you are here in your numbers, and you are here again this morning in your numbers. So welcome, 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 one and all. And to keep with the regular format, we're going to run the roll call as quickly as I can because we have lots of students in the schoolyard. Then we're going to make the few announcements that we have to make, and then we are going to go into today's program. When I scheduled the program yesterday, I told you we are going to discuss the continued road carnage, and we are going to have a look at a tape where the president made some remarks about what's going on the road. So we're going to analyze that. And we also tell you there's this lawsuit where the Attorney General, Moamir Anil Nandalal, sued social media activist Melly Mel, known as, Melissa Anna, well known as Melly Mel, for $100 million. So a lot of lawsuits flying around. Ruta sued last week for $400 million. Every week is some other lawsuit. Brutus wrote me a letter threatening legal action if I didn't respond within a day. I'm still awaiting on that. It has not been, I don't know what is going on. I'm waiting. We're not going to run. They are desperate to shut up certain people, desperate, and they're not going to succeed. They are not going to succeed because the truth will prevail. The truth shall set you free. So here we are again this Monday morning. Welcome, welcome again. Share the live, and let me go into the roll call. Several persons came in when the program was scheduled, just about 7, and those who Barlett came there, Wayne from the UK, Tessa from Florida, Bert, Marcia, Magnell, Kenneth from Maryland. They all came at 7:01, shortly followed by Derek, Earl, Sean from Schenectady, Carlton, my squad mate, Courtney, Gibbo, Aubrey, Malcolm, Linden, Brian, Emerson, Mary. Then it was Raul, 11752. Raul Semple is here. Brennan, Puran from Essequibo Coast. Aileen, cricket umpire, female cricket umpire, is here with us. Clifton, all the way from Paris. Marlon, good to see you on the live. Winston from California. Vibert, and this is Vibert Lawson. Charles, BX, you were absent from classes a few times. Watch it. Don't skulk on this thing. Lennox is here. Dexter, Princess Earl from Lamar Spring, Ella, Aubrey. Then Aubrey from Canada, incidentally, says there. Pamela from West Dem. Patricia from New Jersey. Lynette from the UK. Terrence Young, 9795. He's from Canada. Then we add George Calder, BV man. Onika, the Kanamaruk man. Anthony from Peters Hall and the East Bank. Lester is here with us. Cecile, Pito from Queens. Raul, Patricia, Felicia, Carl from Arizona, my squad mate 9414. Evelyn, Vibert, this is Vibert Smith, Old Police. Carlisle is here. Joan from New Amsterdam. Francis Kidd from Melanie. He said Friday he was busy, he didn't get to see all the live. Jean, then it was Wayne. Ulrich from Barbados, my squad mate 9555. Michael, Orin from the UK. Keith, Annette, Charlene, Kurt, Mr. Simpson. Then it is Clarence, Walterine, Paul from Canada, Peter, and it is Ainsworth, Henrik. Then it was Rhonda. After Rhonda is Anthony, and this is another Anthony. Denise, the secretary, Diane, Mark H, Carl, John, Chisel Chipper 68 is here. Marcus, Colin, Pepper Goat, Desiree, Barbara, Nicola, Colin from New Jersey, Monica is here from East Friendship, East Bank, East Coast, Amanda, the Angel is with us. Ronald, Steve, Clive from the UK. Fergus said he has a natal day tomorrow. Advanced birthday greetings to you, my brother. Jacko is here. George, Winston is very much with us from Portsmouth, Maine. Aral, Sean, Karen, Rohan is here with us. Sandra, Marlon, Troy, Jakey is with us. Michael, and then another Michael, Vibort, another Vibort, David, another David, Neville, Rahim, Humi is here. Daniel from Linden, Moses, Michael, and another Michael Brower from the British Virgin Islands. Audrey is here. Wenda, Kevin, Ovid, Rhonda. That's the next Rhonda Lane. Then I'm still in the house, you would say. Patricia, Queenie, Barbara, Original Black Man is here. Marcus, Royston, Abera 1111, African Queen, Akko, Diane, David, Brenda, Leon, this is Leon Hallin, Siobhan, Leon, another Leon Schwartz, 10025, Brenda, Denise, and Denise is from she's on GT now. She's on vacation, I guess. Corinne, Maureen, Grantley, TK from California, 9135 is in the house. Danny, Elizabeth, Elizabeth is here. Pleasance in the house, she says. Doreen, my squad mate. Barbara, Janella, Patrick, then it is Vernon, Elben, Cord, Dwayne, Marva, Inferno Boss. Grace is always here with us. Conali, Oret, Joseph, Simo is here. Claudius, Charles, Vibort, the man from the East Bank of Demerara. And after Vibort, it was Karen, Patricia, Patrick, Trevor, Gordon, Lorraine, Theodore, Monica, David, Michael, Pauline, Stefan, Denise came back. Then it is Ryan, Matthew, Roy from upstate, Devian, Wendy is here with us, Cello, Carol, Hazel, Simone, another Michael, Shamlin, another Raul, Sandrine Beard, Aral, R. Crawford, John, Isabella, Valietta, Dennis, Lennox, Clay, Marlin, Sharon, Nigel, Ezla, Maxwell, 11704 Beaton is in the house. Wayne, Desiree, Delan, Colin, Lester, the last person in the schoolyard. When the school door was open, as is expected these days, Edward was the first person in. Then we have Habu is here, Essequibo Coast, Lynette from Barbados, Carlton, Trifosa is here, Simone, and the list goes on and on and on and on. So yeah, that is what we have. Lots and lots of students in class today. And again, I got to implore you, got to give me the thumbs up. Give us the thumbs up. Now let me give you the announcements. We have a few announcements to make. The first announcement is today. I understand it's the birth anniversary of Woman Deputy Superintendent Joel Sullivan. So happy birthday to you, Deputy Superintendent Sullivan. And then we have some persons who celebrated their birthdays recently. Retired Woman Superintendent Desiree Fowler. The Fowl, I call you the old Fowl. Fowl celebrated, I think it was yesterday or sometime recently. Then we had a loyal student who's on the Zoom here now, who's on the live. My squad mate, W349, Doreen Green. She celebrated recently. Doreen, all the best. Then another recent celebrant, Lloyd Warren. Lloyd was my good friend, man. 1571, I think it was. He was a drum major in the police band at one time. I used to tease him about certain things and so on. We have a good relationship going. Lloyd celebrated a birthday recently. And then we have former police cricketer, Simo Salah, we used to call him Salah, Collie Solomon, former police and national pace bowler. He too had a birthday recently. And we had the birthday recently of a retired, former assistant commissioner. I think he retired as assistant commissioner. Former assistant commissioner, former Major General of the Guyana Defense Force, Chief of Staff, former Director General of the Guyana National Service. I'm speaking about Mr. Norman Gordon McLean, celebrated a birthday recently, and he's one of the, I remember for the records, one of the first cadet officers in the police force. 3 of them came in August of 1958. Norman McLean, Cecil Glasgow, and Cecil Skip Roberts. Those were the pioneers for the cadet scheme out of QC into the police force. So they are the pioneers. And the young policemen, the young officers in particular, you must research these things and know your history, right? Norman McLean, who a retired Major General from the Ghana Defense Force. He was also, I think, the first Director General of the Ghana National Service, and he was an Assistant Commissioner of Police. He was one of the first cadets celebrated. He celebrated about it recently. I think it was the 1st of August, 1958. McLean, Roberts, and Cecil Glasgow, they joined the police force, and then thereafter, you had lots and lots of other people coming in, and they were the direct intake. The first set of cadets were direct intake, straight from the road, school in their case, straight into the police force as direct intakes. And then over the years, the system, you have the direct intake, then you have the internal cadets, and then you have the SMOC cadets and so on. So yeah, do the research. And then we also have, well, let me tell you all this about Mr. McLean, man whom I respected a lot. Then I was there, prominent in the Rifle Club, as one of the top shooters in the country. As the Major General, he was the president of the Ghana National Rifle Association. And he became actively involved in making sure arrangements were made for us to shoot. He came to the ranges, and at that time, we had only 300, 500, and 600 yards. Whereas internationally, you go up to 1,000 yards. And he mandated that by the next championship, Guyana must have a range up to 1,000 yards. To include 800, 900, and 1,000 yards. And it did happen. It did happen. Norman Gordon McLean was responsible for that. Not very actively, he was very active in the thing. Previous presidents were just figureheads. But when Mr. McLean became president of the Ghana National Rifle Association, he became actively involved and ensured that we got long range, 800, 900, and 1,000 yards, and make sure that we were well equipped, and we took off thereafter. We also had a birthday recently of a student who is on the live, Henrik Boscom. He had a birthday recently too. So I want to wish all those who celebrated recently and who are celebrating today all the best, long life, prosperity. May God continue to bless and guide you in this life. And what else we have? We got cricket in the air. I told you all sometime last week about that test match at Perth between India and Australia. Well, those cricket fans would have seen India destroyed Australia in their own backyard. Perth, supposed to be the fastest, bounciest wicket in the world. India destroyed Australia on that wicket. Jasprit Bumrah and Harshit Rana. What a name. Harshit Rana, pace bowlers. And of course, Mohammad Siraj, that destroyed Australia. And we have West Indies and Bangladesh. Well, that is not no real exciting cricket. So I ain't going to say much about it. But let me bring in Mr. Conway, and then we're going to move straight into the meat of today's program. CC, welcome. I know you're not feeling 100%, but here you are, dedicated teacher, to make sure that you impart the knowledge to the students. Welcome, my brother.
Okay, good morning. Happy to be in the land of the living to do God's work. As you mentioned, I'm not 100%, but then, I see things as challenges. I don't see them as problem, and things are going to work out. I want to shout out to Major General Norman McLean. I don't know how I miss his birth anniversary. He's one of my mentors. I really, really benefit from him, especially after I retired from the police force and then went into private security, working with a large-scale gold mining company, and many of the things that I had cast to implement was through the advice, through the recommendation of Mr. Norman McLean, for which I'm very grateful. And this morning, in Festival City, I met one of our students, big woman. She's a grandmother, and she called out to me, and she told me how much she's enjoying our program, how much she's learning, and she did encourage us to continue She said, no letting up. We must continue on with our program. So I want to shout out to her. She gonna listen, and I think she knows herself. I won't call her name, but it was nice meeting her in Festival City, and we had a nice little talk. So let's move on.
Let's move on. Let's move on. I saw something over the weekend that I gotta. This weekend was a very hectic weekend. I talked about the lawsuit and so on, and I read something I never saw that before. We always said that we come to this program and we talk the truth. We talk the truth. We are evidence based, and I read the social media activist said, right, that if you want to come to us, if you want, well, they was saying about she. If you want to come to she, if you want to come after she, you have to be clean like them Dunn's children's school book. She said, Melly said, if you want to come after she, you got to be clean like them Dunn's children's school book. And I'm borrowing that. If you want to come after us on this program, you have to be clean. You can't get all them baggage and all them skeleton. Not in the closet. You got a skeleton, it's a whole graveyard. So if you want to come, make sure you're clean as them Dunn's children school book. Well, I figure out what happened when them Dunn's children don't write nothing in the school book. So it's always clean. And I think that is what she meant. But it tickled me because I never heard that one before. You got to be clean like them Dunn's children's school book if you want to come after me. Now, having said that, let me move on. Last week, we have this ongoing saga with Brutus. They are 252 now, 252 criminal charges. And they get this thing, who is compelled, who feels compelled to come out and bat for Brutus. He wrote an article, it wrote an article last week. Basically saying that people were being pressured to give statement against Brutus and all of that, right? People are being pressured. And one of the assertions is that someone gave a statement to exculpate Brutus, and then that same person was pressured into changing the statement and gave a second statement and all of that. Well, let me make this point clearly, and I'm sure I'm going to ask Mr. Conway to comment on it. In the course of any investigation, any detailed, proper investigation, it is not unusual for a witness to give one or more statements. In this case, based on what was written and based on what is said, the person may have given a statement to say that items were received at the quartermaster store. They received these items. And then later on, they said the person pressured to say that the items were not received. A straightforward thing. It is not unusual for a person to give one or more statements. We told you here, students, about what we call negative statement. You do an investigation, you interview a person, they say, well, me, I know, I didn't see, I didn't hear. So what you do, you take a statement. The younger police have to learn that. Some people say, well, what saying the people say they didn't know, that they didn't hear, they didn't see anything. Why take a statement from them? Now you take a statement so you could tie them down to that position. They give a statement saying they did not know. Later on, they might come back and change the statement. Nothing wrong with that. But not change. They give a next statement to say, well, now that they know. You take that as well. And it's not for you, the investigator, to necessarily determine the truthfulness of one or both statements, to determine the credibility of the witness. You take the statements. You take the statements, and in putting up your report, you will reflect on the fact that the person initially said that they did not know. But then you might, during the course of the investigation, you unearth evidence. In this particular case, they are saying that the person said, or more than one person said, that items were received at the quartermaster stores. That was the gist of the thing. And then later on, they said they were pressured to say the items were not received. Now I ask you this. If the items were received, you make a statement the items were received, the investigation is progressing, the investigators will naturally want to know, where are the items? Where are the items? Because if you said that you receive items, that is not a one item. They're talking about boots, they're talking about cloth, they're talking about on cuff pouches. If you say you receive these things, where are the items? And I would suspect that once you're confronted with the fact that you can't show where these items are, you can't show how these items were distributed, then you might have a change in position. Nothing is wrong with that. So this thing what they try to create, that people change, give different statement, and they were coerced. I suspect they were presented with this facts that you're saying that these things were received. Where are the items? If you say they were received, where are the items? Simple. And I make the point because when you do that, you take, look, part of the teaching too, you don't discard statements. The person gave one statement, you might very well give what we call a further statement, and for the statement, you make the statement, you get all of these and you submit all. When time comes, you go to court, you reveal all. You disclose all the statements that seems to be in favor of the defendant or the accused person, and the statement that seem not to be in favor. All. You don't withhold statements. And then the court will decide on the credibility of the witness. It's not for you, the investigator, to determine that. Unlike what happened in the Durham Lodge second case, where it is reported that the police legal advisor, he determined that the complainant wasn't credible. That is not his work. That is not the police work to determine whether you're credible or not. You take your report, you take your statement, and you might highlight those things in the report. And when you highlight those things in the report, the people, either the DPP, if it gets to the court will determine how credible a witness is or not on the cross-examination and all of that. So I wanted to make sure that that is put out there, that there's absolutely nothing wrong with a particular witness giving one or more statements. And even though some of the statements might contradict each other, there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, the credibility of the witness will come into question, but nothing wrong. As I've said in this case, if the witness said, I received these items, give a statement, I received these items. You're doing the investigation, you want to know where are the items. Where are the items? You can't show the items. And then the person might change and say, well, it's not true. I did not receive the item. Because if you receive items, you have to have paper trail to support the fact that these items were received. Let me bring in Mr. Conway to talk about this multiple statement from one witness. CC, what is your take on it?
Well, I said before on the program that I learned through Viber Smith, 7464 Smith, detective at Myconi, when he was doing particularly more the investigation. And people said they weren't there, they didn't see it, all kind of thing. And he used to get me to take what you call negative statement. And I say, man, you're wasting time. If the people say they don't know anything, don't take it like that and don't write no statement. He said, no, you got to take the negative statement, any statement they give. And then people will give for the statement also. And then sometimes you give a statement, and then afterwards, the investigator got certain evidence coming to bear, and he's got to contact you and then to clarify those things there. And sometimes you too, when you wrote a statement, you might left out certain things. You know, I can remember when I charged a man for bribing me, for offering me a bribe when I was Commando C Division. In the cross-examination by the attorney asked me, how many statements did you write? I said 2, because somebody told him that I had 2 statements in the file. And he said, how come you, when the thing fresh in your memory, you write 1 statement, how come you got to write a false statement when it wasn't fresh in your memory? So I told myself, look, on advice of the DPP advised that certain things to prove the offense, the elements of the crime, I must state certain things. And that is what I did. Okay. So in the course of investigation, you can take more than 1 statement from somebody, and you can take for the statement, and you can take negative statement. So it depends on where the investigation is leading you. You come and you get fresh evidence. You need to contact the witness. You need to contact them and clarify the situation. You know. So what nonsense is talking that somebody give a statement and one then they change? They could change because you get the facts available to you. So you have no alternative than to change.
Yeah. So we want to clarify that, especially for the younger policemen and the students and all that. You know, we saw on this program this morning, somebody comment that, look, they were never a police. They say popo, they were never police, but they find this program very, very educational, informative. It is not only for police, it's for citizens at all. You gotta be a police, but we identify certain procedures, we identify certain rights and so on for you to understand how the system should work. You know, we had last week, Wednesday, we were here and we talked about the truck accident on Sheriff Street, Dennis Street, where this man was killed and the truck ran into a building, damaged about 8 cars and 8 other vehicles and all of that. So we talked about it and we were critical of the management, the traffic management in the country. And we remain critical of it. So Wednesday we talked about it. And Thursday, the next day, the president came out, or as they would say, the president came in out with the top brass of the police force and the attorney general to attempt to make on top of the live broadcast to address the traffic issue. A live broadcast to address the traffic issue. They're always playing catch up. They always. When we come out here and speaking out and we identify certain things, they're always playing catch up. Like when we were calling for this investigation into this Brutus matter, $16.5 million deposited at the police credit union. They danced, the duck and the hide, and then we were relentless. Then eventually they came. Then you hear only 16.5, 46.4 million deposited, and then you hear 8.5 collected in the office. You hear all sort of things now. We will continue to highlight these things, continue. But then following our analysis on Wednesday, they came out on Thursday and they make a statement. I'm going to play it for you because we don't want to interpret anything. We want to play it so that you can listen for yourself and you can make your own assessments. When it is finished, we are going to point out certain things. So we're going to play, it's a 2-part thing. We have to divide it, 2 parts. So I'm going to play both parts and then we are going to discuss. Sit back. I know, let me tell you this from the outset. It might be painful for some people to listen to it. It might be painful, but students, bear up. Listen to what is being said very carefully so that when we comment afterward, you can't claim that we misinterpreted or we are misrepresenting what was said. And here we go. Let me, the first half, let me play this first part first, and then listen carefully. This is it here. Look, listen carefully. Here we go.
This morning, I met with the Attorney General and the leadership of the Guyana Police Force. And the meeting was geared at 3 fundamental issues. One is the accidents on our roadways. It is my belief that the traffic chief, the Commissioner of Police, must ensure that the traffic chief and his ranks are implementing to the fullest and maximum operability the laws governing the safe and proper use of our roadways. We cannot continue to have this type of indiscipline on our roadways, especially with the trucks and truck drivers. So whilst we will hold truck drivers responsible, I have asked the Attorney General to examine the laws to see where there are gaps so that truck owners can also have the responsibility of ensuring their drivers work within guidelines. As it is now, the law provides for the suspension of license. And I've asked the traffic chief, Commissioner of Police, and the leadership of the Guyana Police Force to take immediate steps to to have this law implemented fully. With all the speeding that is taking place on our roadways, only 18 suspensions this year does not speak to the magnitude of the issue we have on our roadways. So truck drivers on the whole, but especially those truck drivers, public transportation drivers, I'm asking you not to do anything special. All I'm asking you to do in the interest of saving lives is comply with the law, comply with the rules. So I've asked also that the body cam we procured and are procuring for the Guyana Police Force traffic ranks especially, that those body cams be used in the execution of duties, traffic duties, so we can have video evidence and recording. I've asked that the cameras, the CCTV cameras, help us to identify these errant drivers, these lawless drivers, who obviously have no regards for their own lives, but put in danger the lives of others. As president today, I held this meeting to outline very clearly to the leadership of the Guyana Police Force, who are also very concerned, our severe concern about the present situation on our roadways. Secondly, on the issue of drinking under the influence of alcohol, we passed a law in which bar owners have a responsibility to relieve drivers of their keys and not to sell alcohol to drivers. I've asked the Guyana Police Force to also ensure that this law is enforced and implemented to the maximum. First of all bars must carry signage within the bars to effect this law. Today, the Guyana Police Force is once again going to send the wording for such signage that must be placed in every single bar across the country. The wording for the signage must be placed in every bar across the country. We're going to I asked the AG earlier to see whether we can also amend the laws to have the license of bars suspended. The license of bars suspended if they're not complying with this regulation and this law. We cannot continue the carnage on our roads. We cannot continue the lawlessness on our roads. Thirdly, in keeping with the laws again and all the public notices, and with our investment in technology, as you know, the Hero Highway carries traffic cameras that is directly linked to the Guyana Police Force and Guyana Revenue Authority. They have been issuing tickets. How many speeding tickets we issued so far? 893. Huh? 893. On that highway? On that highway, 893. On that highway alone, the Heroes Highway, we have issued 893 tickets so far this year. They are now going to go through all the drivers, because this public notice was there, who continuously speed more than 3 times. And they will move in accordance with the law to have those licenses suspended. We have to take these actions to save you. We have to take these actions to save you from yourselves, because you put your life at risk. And in putting your life at risk, we're also putting the life of others at risk. I'm pleading with drivers to comply with the laws. Very soon, we'll also be putting up speed advisory digital boards across different highways that would give you an indication as to the speed you're going at. I will ask now the Commissioner of Police to say a few words.
All right, that's it. That's part one. That's part one, folks. I know you have a lot to say, and we have a lot to say on that. But I'm going to play part two, and then when you listen to part two, at the end of that, then I'm going to invite Mr. Conway, and we're going to dissect and analyze, because a lot has been said. A lot has been said. The president made a lot of acts. He asked for this, he asked for that, he asked for a lot of things. Well, we're going to go through it and break it down for you. But here, the second part. The second part, here we go.
Good morning, Excellency. Good morning, viewers. As the Commissioner of Police, we are tasked with the responsibility of ensuring the roads are clear in terms of carnage. We are still seeing a lot of misrepresentation of driving, and we are still seeing carnages. And so, based on Your Excellency's outright position this morning, we're going to double back, and we're going to put all the mechanisms in place. Drivers, you're going to see us, we're going to be working with you, and of course, who would have made mistakes in terms of proceeding in excess of 100 on a new highway, and this is the heroes I refer to. You're going to be dealt with first, truck drivers. We're going to be coming after you, we're going to be putting you in order, and in fact, we're going to have retraining, we're going to have it redone. We have people went to the USA and they did the 5 days training. Immediately after this cold weather would have concluded, we're going to do 2 weeks, and we're going to add that as part of the curriculum. And so drivers will be dealing with you as of today, throughout the season, and throughout next year. That's it.
These are necessary steps. These are necessary steps to avoid the abuse of our roadways. And as I said, to build public trust, the traffic ranks will have their body cams, because that will be part of the process too. This is a work together. And I'm pleading with commuters. If you are in a public transportation that is driving dangerously, that is putting you and other passengers' life at risk, you have a responsibility to please stop the bus, disembark, and report that bus. This is an effort that requires all of us to be responsible. That requires all of us to be responsible. The final issue that I've raised with the Commissioner today is in relation to the illegal use of sirens and lights, emergency lights. If you have sirens and emergency lights illegally on your vehicle, I'm asking you to remove them immediately. I've asked the Attorney General to amend the laws with a fine and suspension of license for persons who are illegally using license and sirens. And for those security companies and others especially who are granted permission for the use of lights, the law will also provide for the removal of those lights and suspension of your security license if you're abusing those siren and lights. We're seeing tremendous abuse. I've also asked the police, the Commissioner of Police and his team, to move immediately. To move immediately on all those shops, centers who are selling these illegal lights and sirens. All those who are installing these illegal lights and sirens. I've asked the Commissioner of Police also to have his team examine this, because you too are part of the problem. So today, with the leadership of the Guyana Police Force and the traffic chief, I wanted to address this. We just concluded a meeting. The Attorney General was there on these matters, because these matters are important to me, the government, the police, and more importantly, the people of our country. We have to stop this nonsense on our roadways. And we can only do so if we do so collectively, together as a people. So drivers, I'm appealing to you. No one is going after you. All we're asking you to do is to comply. All we're asking you to do is to help us save your own lives and the lives of others. Thank you very much, and God bless all of you.
It is already public knowledge that we have made a series of amendments to our road traffic laws to ensure public safety. We have implemented amendments that address drunken driving, and we have attached the harshest possible penalties where persons are found guilty, especially when they cause death. We have introduced in this regard the offense of motor manslaughter. At the same time, we have also addressed the issue of selling intoxicating liquor at restaurants to drivers. And we have put a regime in place to ensure that those who sell liquor to drivers and drivers drive after consuming that liquor, the owner of the establishment, the seller of the liquor, as well as the driver and those in company of the driver are all liable for different types of criminal offenses under the Road Traffic Act. As a result of the continuous danger being posed on our roads, in particular by lorries that are laden, but more especially those that are laden and speeding, as well as unladen, we are going to introduce a strict regime of penalties and regulation to ensure that we minimize the risks caused by these lorries to road users. We are going to impose speed limits. We are going to tie those speed limits to laden weight. We are going to ensure that certain areas or certain roads are only to be used. And we are going to ensure, obviously, that the drivers are licensed and they are qualified to drive these types of vehicles. We cannot continue with the carnage in the manner that we are doing now, and we are going to implement these adjustments to the laws, and we are going to prosecute them and enforce them to the fullest to ensure that we make our roadways a safe place.
There you have it, folks. There you have it. Somebody said, let me look at this comment. I find it very, very amusing. The comments are coming so fast that I think this one. Now where is it? Where is it? This one here. They said jackassness. 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 Well, I wouldn't say that. I'm going to perhaps be a little bit more diplomatic. But before I have my say, we all listened to what was said, that two-part series there. Let me invite Mr. Conway to make his comments on what he just heard being said. See, a mouthful was said there. Well, I know everything was said. A lot of talking took place. But I know if the talking meant anything to you. So please, let me hear your views on what was said.
So many issues and concerns we had there, that it would take several episodes to really deal with them, because you're dealing with traffic on the whole, and piecemeal effort will only have piecemeal results. Well, let me make a few points here. First thing, I noted the absence of the Minister of Home Affairs, Robson Ben. I don't know if the meeting was held 5:30 in the morning and he turned up late and they locked him out, they didn't give him entry. I don't know, but he wasn't there. And then I look at his spread, I got to observe something. I look at his spread there, the people at the briefing there. And I observed that to be an assistant commissioner, you have to get a lot of guts, especially if you're going to deal with operations or admin. You got to get a lot of guts to be an assistant commissioner. And I always used to like to look at Paul position of people, where they sit in on the table there. And I see the squatter put Bodram way out on the left. And I hear Bodram is touted to become the next commissioner of police. And then his ops man, his assistant commissioner, ops, way to the right. He put the traffic man between them, And I listened clearly to the president, and I expected the president maybe to be more firm. Here's it. The president talking about he requested, he asking, he pleaded. I expect the president to be instructing, to be ordering, to be directing. But he's requesting and he's asking and he's pleading. Statement of the commissioner of police, the extended squatter. I think he get caught off guard. I don't think he had expected the president to call on him to say something. Therefore, he talk a lot of nonsense, contradicting himself. He's going to work along with the truck drivers, and then in the same breath, he's coming on them. They I want to say some things, but let me refrain myself. The traffic chief, I believe he gave the president a bluff figure. 893 persons, committed the offense. I think he gave them a bluff figure. And that is less maybe than 3 cases a week. And I maybe the traffic chief cost some also to give him bluff figures. Remember they cocking the figures in relation to the fatal accidents. They're talking about incidents. A man hit a bridge and run off the road and dies is an incident. A man hit a donkey in the road and he dies is an incident. A person fall off a vehicle is an incident. So I am not comfortable with figures being given by the traffic chief. You think he just give a big bluff figure. And then they're talking about suspension. The law is clear how when you can suspend persons. And to do the suspension is the Minister of Home Affairs. Yes, the magistrate or other people could disqualify you, find you for certain offenses. But in terms of suspension, it is the Minister of Home Affairs. And I know we used to write the minister, especially in causing death by dangerous driving, and you're requesting that the driver's license be suspended. And then they talk about so much thing, body cameras. What is the purpose of traffic trunks using body cameras? I would expect when they go on those illegal operations, say again and search people places, and so then is when they should use body cameras. No, not body cameras in traffic arrangements. something is wrong somewhere there. Something's not clear there. And siren. Siren, I remember we used to get problem with the Larry Lewis in terms of pronouncing this word. Well, let me call it siren. Journalists using siren, or so-called journalists, all kind of people using siren. And months now, the Minister of Affairs said that he's going to tweak the law to allow diplomats and other persons to use siren. And since when, if you're in possession of those licenses, so is an offense? Since when? Is an offense, or is selling those things? Since when it is an illegal offense? I look at, I'm going to talk a little bit, but I look at it, and I remember doing a bit of management. I remember Ken Blanchard. He wrote about the 1 minute manager. We talk about praise and recommend can accomplish in a minute to get subordinates to perform at peak efficiency with high needs. He's talking about praise and reprimand. I don't think there was any praise for the police, but they didn't deserve any praise. But then the same management guru, Ken Blanchard, he told him a phrase, he talked about seagull, the seagull manager, seagull management. And I think that is what I saw there during the briefing, seagull management. And here's what Blanchard said. He said, seagull management is when you hear something wrong. You hear something wrong, so you fly in, make a lot of noise, crap up everybody, and fly away. Let me repeat, seagull management. You hear something is wrong, so you fly in, make a lot of noise, crap up everybody, and fly away. And that kind of management that we see display should be avoided. Should be avoided. We want no seagull management. We want that you hear something wrong, that you fly in, make a lot of noise, crap up everything, and then fly away. What will happen after them? This thing is about, as a 1 minute man just said, is about praise and reprimand. Praise and reprimand. I don't hear no praise. All I hear is reprimand. So the man just fly in, make a lot of noise, crap up everybody, and fly away. I'm going to pause here for the while, Paul.
Yeah, seagull management, seagull, and I say we talk about seagull, the bird. That bird flying, make a lot of noise, crop up or shit up all over the place, and then you fly and you go away. Well, let me say this. Let me give you all my take. My take, having regards to what we just listened to there, is more evidence that the persons there and that the government and all these people don't have a clue as to how to deal with the lawlessness on the road. Let me repeat that. That what we saw there is evidence to me that the president, the acting commissioner, the squatter, the attorney general who spoke, the traffic chief, Minister Ben, they ain't have a clue as to how this matter should be addressed, this lawlessness on the road. This is not the first time the president is making statements about what is going on the road. Not the first. In his New Year's message, he came out to say that within days, he's going to have a national conversation on the carnage on the road. And he told us what would have happened coming out of that conversation. And I did say then that if you're going to have a conversation, how can you determine beforehand what the outcome will be? It's just seagull arrangement. Seagull. Again, this, what we just saw there demonstrates to me that these people are clueless. They are clueless. And let me say this. What is going on, the lawlessness on the road, is a culture. We're dealing with a culture of lawlessness. Not only on the road, we're dealing with a culture of lawlessness in Guyana. And my training tells me that if you're going to if you want to change a culture, you can't have these piecemeal measures. You have to have a proper plan. A culture is not something easy to change. And what we have, again, I repeat, is a culture of lawlessness. And I'm going to go into some of the things made a while ago. I mean, it was painful to me to listen to what the president was saying there. It was painful to me to hear the acting commissioner telling you about misrepresentation of driving. People, misrepresentation of driving. What is that? What is misrepresentation of driving? And even the Attorney General came on there and talked a lot of BS. Let me go through some of these things because I made some notes when they were talking. Again, as I said, it is evidence that these people don't have a clue as to how to handle this situation. No clue whatsoever. And let me talk about some of the things. They talk about truck and public transportation. You're going to target trucks. You're going to target public transportation. I say this without any fear of contradiction. All categories of road users in Guyana, all. Drivers of public transportation, drivers of trucks, drivers of private cars, motorcyclists, pedal cyclists, pedestrians, all categories of drivers are doing nonsense on the road. And therefore, if you're going to have a proper plan, you have to deal with all categories, all. Then they talk about truck owners to ensure that the drivers work within guidelines. What is that? What is that? Then they talk about truck owners to make sure that the drivers are licensed. You're admitting that's a tacit admission that you get people driving without the adequate proper license. And we said before, and we say it again, that the whole system of licensing, not only for truck drivers, because in Guyana, you get a small, what we call this canter truck. You go in, if you go at all, and you go with that, and you get an endorsement on your license to drive a truck. And because truck is on your license, you can go and jump into one of those big sand trucks with tons and tons of sand, and you drive. You don't have an arrangement for commercial driver's license. If you're going to adjust the trucks and those big vehicles, you have to have an arrangement where people qualify for a commercial driver's license, which is far more rigid. The examination and the process is far more rigid than the ordinary license. But then again, if you're going to implement such a system, you have to make sure that you weed out the corruption. Because if you make the system, make it more difficult to people to get a truck license, it's filet for the corrupt ones. And don't deny that. You have a lot of corrupt people in the place. You have a lot of corrupt people. So all of that you have to look at. They talk about suspension of driver's license. And they say only 18 licenses were suspended for the year. That's what the president said. And that is unacceptable. Well, let me say this. I don't know who's advising the president. I know the Attorney General has given wrong advice. Attorney General advised him to suspend the Police Service Commission. The judge said he was ultra-virus, unlawful, unconstitutional, and all of that. Wrong advice the Attorney General gives the president from time to time. But suspension of the driver's license is dealt with under the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act. And the act, I think it's section 31, I can't remember it directly now, but you go under the research. You can, as Mr. Conway said, suspension is dealt with by the licensing authority. The licensing authority, according to the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act, is the Minister of Home Affairs. He is the one with the power to suspend license, not the police. I used to be the traffic chief on 2 occasions. And when you want license suspended, because it provided for license to be suspended, if a person is charged with causing death by dangerous driving. So once the DPP recommends that the person is charged for causing death by dangerous driving, we used to put a mechanism in place for the license to be suspended, pending the outcome of the charge. He talked about suspension. He didn't talk about disqualification. The same Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act provides for a magistrate to disqualify a person from holding or obtaining a driver's license if convicted for certain offenses. They know that. The traffic chief sit down there and he said 893 tickets on the Heroes Highway for the year. So again, the courts have a part to play because the courts are empowered to disqualify. I remember back in the day, I think it was Sharon Eden and the other magistrate named Krishna Venichinta from Sri Lanka, I think she was, traffic magistrate. People were fearful to go in front of the traffic court because you were disqualified and old from holding or obtaining at a flash once you were found guilty of certain offenses. When last a magistrate in Guyana disqualified a person charged with a particular offense for holding or obtaining? When last? Again, I say, you talk about suspension, but there's also disqualification. There's also provision to disqualify. But then let me say this. Let me say you disqualify. There's also provisions in the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act for endorsement on the license. All of these things have not, the laws have not changed. But how do you endorse the new license that you have now? Because when they talked about endorsement, they were talking about that little book where when you go, the magistrate, if you're to be endorsed, they take the book and they write in the book. You're endorsed, they put an endorsement in your license, which was a little book. But now you have this plastic license. You have this plastic license. How you endorse that? Them are the things that the Attorney General should look to make sure that you can give effect to. Because as it is now, even though the law provides for endorsement, it is physically impossible for the endorsement to be done. Physically impossible for the endorsement to be done. They have to look at that. Then the next question, let's assume that the magistrates and even the licensing authority start to suspend and to disqualify. Do you have the mechanism in place to make sure that those things can be made effective? In other words, you tell a man you're suspended. What mechanism you have to ensure that he complies? And if he does not comply and he's caught driving when he is suspended, what happens? If the person is disqualified from holding or obtaining, what mechanism do you have to make sure that he complies? And if she does not comply, how is that person held accountable? All of these things you have to sit down and look at, not come in front of big national broadcast and spew a lot of bilge. God, that is exactly what that was. And I'm not going to be diplomatic. People are dying on the road. Only just now somebody sent me a note. Some man got crushed at the Arbor Bridge. Someone, footman there, who's normally apparently begs and so on. Some truck crushed either this morning, Monday, the 25th day of November. So people are dying, and therefore you can't be using fancy language and diplomatic language. You have to be real. You have to be real. You have to be brutally frank in putting it forward. And that is what I'm going to do. Now, they talk too about, hold on. They talk here about, well, the president made a mistake when he said drinking under the influence of alcohol. He's driving him mean. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes quite often on this program. You got to be man to admit that you make a mistake and you move on. You can't do like the squatter when you make mistakes. Say you're not listening when he talk about 53 square miles and he talk about all these type of things. The president made a mistake when he said he talks about drinking under the influence of alcohol. That is a mistake. Talk about identification of errand driver, right? Identification of errand driver. They had, not so long ago, the police published something in the media of hundreds of drivers who were caught speeding on that same Heroes Highway. Vehicle number, the vehicles, not the drivers, the vehicles caught speeding. Some of them multiple times. What has happened to that? What has happened to that? And then they tell you some lad passing where the owner of the vehicle got to be held responsible. Because the cameras, you have the cameras there, and the cameras are not going to be able to identify who was driving. I don't think they have that technology. The camera or the cameras are going to identify the registration number, and through a system you will know who is the registered owner of the motor vehicle. Who is the registered owner? The registered owner is not necessarily the driver. There is a provision in the law that I know of, I know they change it and all this other thing, that once that happens, you then have to serve a notice of identity on the registered owner to say to you, he's compelled by law to say who was driving that vehicle at the particular time. Let me repeat that. This is not a case where the police stop the driver and ask for driver's license so you know the name of the person who was driving. This is a case where a camera takes out the registration number of a vehicle. That doesn't identify who was driving. That identifies the vehicle, and you go through the GRA, you're going to know who is the registered owner of the vehicle. The law then requires that you serve a notice of identity on the registered owner of the vehicle, demanding that they indicate, they state who was driving this vehicle at the particular time. Therein lies a big problem too. Because the system is so porous, many of the registered owners would have sold them vehicles and the records are not updated. Vehicles sold, people gone overseas, people migrate long ago, and no record is updated. So you go to the records, the record will say the owner of the vehicle is John Jones. Sometimes John Jones is deceased many years ago. Sometimes John Jones has migrated many years ago. So you have a lot of problem in the system that you got to work. This thing got to be integrated, GRA, police, the courts, Ministry of Works, there is Agile Ministry. All of these things you have got to look at. They talk about the bar owner's responsibility. Now that sounds so strange. You telling me a bar can't sell a driver? Oh, first of all, how the bar owner know is a driver? So you got to be asked when you go in to produce your driver's license or your question as to whether you are a driver. How is that? A man walks into a bar and he said, I want a beer, I want a Guinness, and I want something. How do you know that he is a driver? I'm asking because perhaps they will want to explain to us, based on the statement made, how you are going to deal with that. Because they're saying drivers, I understand in some jurisdiction, if the person goes into a bar and the person visibly appears to be intoxicated, then the bar owner or the person who's selling at the bar has a responsibility to deny selling that liquor to that person because the person is clearly drunk. Clearly drunk. But then a man walk into the bar sober as a judge and say, look, I want a flatty. I wonder how many y'all know is a flatty. You want a flatty? Or let me hear how many you know what is a flatty. You go in and I want a flatty. Or you go in the place and say, I want a buckman. And this is not being derogatory. That is terms used in bars. You want a buckman, you want a flatty. How do you know that that person is a driver? So you can't say it. And you sell him because you don't know if he's a driver or not. And you tell me that you're going to be held responsible. How does that work? Please pray, tell us, Mr. President, tell us, Mr. Attorney General, tell us, Mr. Commissioner Acting. Some people say flatties are half. Carlton say flatties are half. A quarter. Carlton say half or a quarter or something. It's a flat. Yeah. So all of that. So they come out with these statements, and when you sit down, how it's going to work? How are you going to operationalize that? You're going to hold a bar owner accountable. You're going to take with their license and all that because a man comes into this bar, sober as a judge. He buys a flatty with little, they used to call it white and pipe. I don't know if you are familiar with that too. You buy a white and a pipe. You sit down, you take a toops, and then you're gone. You get involved in an accident. How do you blame the bar owner or the barman who sold him? This man was sober. How do you relate the accident to the fact that this man had a beer? Is he under the influence to such an extent that he's incapable of commanding a vehicle, having had one beer, having had two beers? All of these things are just, they have a law which says, they say what is the legal limit? What is the legal limit? If the person is above the legal limit, yes. So what are you going to do? You're going to make sure that when a man comes into the bar owner get some breathalyzer test to make sure that he is above the legal limit so that you can't sell him. Again, these things require a little thought process, not just coming out here and talking, right? They talk about amend law to suspend bar license and all this everything. And Mr. Conway spoke about the 893 tickets. It's shameful to hear the traffic chief telling the president, perhaps he's being honest and very candid, that for the entire year of 2024, up to when they had this thing last Thursday, I did the calculation, there would have been 325 days in the year. 325 days in a year. And the traffic chief is proud to say and the president is proud to hear that they issued 893 tickets on the Heroes Highway, where they say all this speeding and all these things taking place. You know what a bunk belongs to? It belongs to me, I'm no mathematician, but you're talking about they're issuing 2.7 tickets a day, less than 3 tickets a day on a stretch of road that is supposed to be so dangerous, a lot of high speed taking place, and a lot of illegal driving taking place. 3 tickets a day. 893 tickets for the year. 3 tickets a day. And you wonder why you have all these problems. And again, when you come to the tickets, not so long ago, President made an announcement that had issued 5,000 tickets along the same place, 5,000 tickets. I asked the question then, and asked it again, what percentage of those tickets were paid? Because the traffic ticket system in the country broke up. There's no proper traffic ticket system. The ticket system, as I know it, ticket is a conditional summons. Let me repeat that. I've said it before. It's a conditional summons. You're given a ticket for certain offenses, and if you agree that you did commit the offense, you go and you pay the appropriate or the requisite fee. You have to have a mechanism in place which allows the police to know that the fee was paid within the prescribed time. Because when the ticket is issued as well, the date for you to appear in court if you want to contest the ticket is stated on the, or should be stated on the ticket. So you're given a ticket, and there's a date which states that if you want to contest the ticket, you have to go before the magistrate and you contest the ticket. So if you did not contest, you're going to pay. You have to have a mechanism to let the police know that this ticket was paid. If the ticket was not paid, then the system is kicked in, where one of the copies is put into a magisterial jacket and it is taken to court, and then it is called like any other case. The matter is called. If the defendant fails to appear, the magistrate may very well put it down to the next date, and then what happens then is that you have what we call in many cases in the traffic, ex parte trial. That is a trial in the absence of the defendant. Traffic ticket are talking about. And once this matter is tried in his absence, he is fined. Once he is fined, a time is given for the fine to be paid. When that time elapses, a warrant is issued for the arrest of that person. All of this is a mechanism, is a system. So you're talking about issuing ticket or you issuing ticket. Are you not ensuring that the system is in place? I say this, I'm not encouraging it, but I'm saying this, that if you get a ticket and you fail to pay the ticket, they're not the wiser for it. People who pay ticket because you made a mistake and you decide, well, yes, I'm gonna go. And there's the people who went carry to somebody and get it struck out. Yeah, I'm gonna go and pay the ticket because I did speed or I did do what is being alleged. But a man who decided, look, I am paying no flipping ticket. What mechanism they have to ensure that that man is brought to the book? None. So I would think that the president perhaps should have a 5:30 meeting and discuss these issues and make sure the systems are put in place. The whole thing broke down is lawlessness. And therefore, they come and they express outrage when people are killed on the road. And as was to be anticipated, President came out on Thursday, I think it was, with this thing here. Over the weekend, all my police busy. 1,200 and something cases made in the whole country. And they sound good. All country, the whole of Guyana, the breakdown is there. They gave a release. The whole of Guyana, 1,200 and something cases made. And they're proud of that. They're proud of that. With all the lawlessness, if you stand up at any corner, or if you drive a 1 mile, you will see multiple offenses being committed. Multiple. And I suspect many of the policemen don't know what are the offenses. They don't know offenses. I live on the East Coast. I live on the East Coast. You drive there. People drive on the right lane all the time. That's one of my pet peeve. When the law says you must drive on the left or near side of the road, just sit down on the right lane. Many of them driving within the speed limit, And so therefore, what happens? If you want to, and many of them driving below the speed limit. So if you want to pass them, you are forced to undertake, which is illegal. You would blow for them to pull over. They're not going to pull over. They don't know. They're not the wiser. So it's a clear problem in the system. Clear problem in the system. Let me move on to some of the other things they're talking about. Now this siren thing. The president should be ashamed to come before the nation in November of 2024 to talk about it again. He spoke about it before on many occasions, on more than one occasion, where he called on his ministers to desist from using siren. I have the document, the press release, and nothing has happened. Nothing to come now in November of 2024 to repeat the same thing. Show that you're ineffective. It shows that you are ineffective. It's just words. It's just words. The Minister of Home Affairs, when it arose, let me read this for y'all, because I don't like for them to say that you're misquoting them. In February of 2023, February last year, the DPI, the Department of Information, the government department, they issued a statement and they said legislation to be tweaked for diplomats, senior government officials to use siren flashing lights. And here, as Mr. Conway said, in the days of Larry Lewis, if you only make the mistake and pronounce the word siren, you get such a tongue lashing that you wanted the place to open, you must disappear. Siren? What word is that? Where is that word? Siren? And we talk about mattress. Man, Larry Lewis was sharp when he came to them thing. Many officers were embarrassed. You go there to talk about siren. S-I-R-E-N is pronounced siren. That's what Larry Lewis, I knew it before, but there's a license to emphasize. But for the talk about siren, that's a new problem, that's a new device. And here what it says. This is February the 2nd, 2023. Minister of Home Affairs Robeson has announced that the legislation pertaining to the use of sirens and flashing lights will be tweaked to cater for appropriate users, including senior government officials and members of the diplomatic corps. Minister Ben was at the time responding to questions raised by an opposition member of parliament in the Committee of Supply Thursday morning. The current law allows for emergency vehicles only, which comprise police, fire vehicles, and ambulances to carry sirens and flashing lights. Any other vehicle that is fitted with such appliances is a breach of the law. However, due to the increased traffic in the city, Minister Ben informed the committee there are some instances where diplomats and senior government officials are allowed to use these appliances. Then the quote here saying, all members of the diplomatic corps are required to have the light, both on the vehicle of the ambassador or the high commissioner, and perhaps on an escort vehicle. We have to tweak the legislation to take account of the change situation. We have more traffic on the road, and people can't go where they want in time or when there's a situation, but we have to deal with that issue, Minister Ben highlighted. He however expressed worry that several persons are misusing these appliances across the country. Then he says, quote again, it has become unfortunate that through some stores in the city and other places, the police-type lights are available for sale and people put them up and misuse them, he added. This is February 2023, almost 2 years ago, the Minister of Home Affairs talking about the use of the sirens and flashing light, unauthorized use. And up to now, the president got to come in November of 2024 when he himself had highlighted this issue. He himself had highlighted this issue. And again, effectiveness is just words. Words. They come and they spew all sort of words, all sort of verbiage, garbage. And as I say again, we're talking about a cultural change, a culture of lawlessness on the road. And I'm gonna give them some more advice. Now, as I said, they talk about the type of vehicles. AG saying that what the AG said to ensure that drivers are qualified to drive certain types of vehicle. You gotta get laugh for that. The current law says that. The current law says that in order for you to drive a particular category of vehicle, you have to be licensed to drive that category. The last, I don't know what the Attorney General is talking about. Basically, he's admitting that persons who don't have the appropriate license are now driving those vehicles. So you mightn't get truck license, you're driving truck. You mightn't get minibus license, you're driving minibus. All the time talking about minibus. Talking about minibus. The category of vehicle minibus is not recognized in the laws of Guyana. Let me repeat that. The laws of Guyana do not recognize a category of vehicle called minibus. All of these things they should look at. All of these things. What qualifies? If you're going to make the minibus a category of vehicle under the law, then what qualifies a person to drive? What qualifies a person to conduct? All of these things, they got to look at it very comprehensively. You run out. Minister talk about changing law, motor manslaughter is now an offense. And the law is clear on that if a person is under the influence to such an extent that he drives a vehicle causing the death of some person, rather than causing death by dangerous driving, that person is charged with motor manslaughter. Following this horrible accident and where the policewoman was killed in front of the BV police station, that driver was charged with motor manslaughter some time ago. What has happened to that case? How many other persons were charged with motor manslaughter? How many? And I said then, and I'm saying again, given how the law is configured, how the law is structured, the wording of the law, it's going to be extremely difficult to convict anyone in Guyana for motor manslaughter. Let me get a direct message to the President, the Attorney General, the Extended Squatter, the Minister of Home Affairs. Currently, as currently stated in the law, motor manslaughter, it's going to be extremely, extremely difficult to convict anyone for motor manslaughter. Because the first thing that you have to establish, according to the law, that the person was under the influence of alcohol to such an extent as to be incapable of properly controlling the vehicle. How are you going to prove that? A man that's going to blow, you just blow in this thing, and the blow, and then the thing says you're above the legal limit. Them lawyers can get field day in that. I don't think there has been a single case where a person who is charged with driving under the influence of alcohol and pleads not guilty, they're able to convict that person. All of these cases, when people are fined, you see $200,000 now and all of that, because they got before the court and they plead guilty. Because I made the point, and this is not, this is to the police and this is to everybody, including them, that you have to make sure that the police are capable of giving the evidence. So the man who administers the breath test, because I don't know they're doing breath analysis, there's a difference in the law between a breath test and a breath analysis. The breath test is conducted on the road where you blow and it registers. The breath analysis is conducted at the police station or other designated places. The people conducting the analysis have to be gazetted and all of that. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. It's not just... So among how many blows? You're above the legal limit. You got to prove, one of the things you got to prove, the accuracy of the instrument. So some expert got to come and prove that this particular instrument is not a, I think Albert, this particular instrument by serial number was calibrated and found to be accurate and all of that. The man who administers got to be able to know how to give the evidence. They're not doing that. They're not doing that. So again, they come and they're not teaching, the training is not taking place. The training is not taking place. I did this SOP. I have it. And I have shared it with some people. SOP for driving under the influence of alcohol. I did the SOP. Because it talks about reasonable cause, how you come to get reasonable cause, and all of that is in the SOP. But they know about them things. They know about these things. So they come and they talk maximum penalty, motor manslaughter. How many persons? And it was said, I don't know how true it is, it was alleged that even the one man who was the one man who was charged with killing that policewoman in front of BV police station. I think it is said, I don't know how true it is, I didn't get to follow it up, that eventually they proceeded with causing death by dangerous driving. And look, one of my lawyer friends here saying, one of my lawyer friends is saying that I'm correct as it relates to the point in the current law. I know because I've read it. I have read it with the current law and this motor manslaughter and all of these things. Even the driving under the influence. But people just go and they plead guilty, and that is that. When other people go there and they plead not guilty and they get off, then they say also other thing about corruption in the system, and not necessarily corruption in the system. The law is there, and the policemen are not trained to properly understand and to enforce the law. When I was operations, that law came out around 2008. I sat in the Deputy Commissioner's operations chair. I remember Neil Semple was the traffic chief. And I called them, he and others around, and we sat down and we went through the law in detail. And then I put together a SOP, a standard operation procedure as to how this thing should be effective. That is since 2008, 16 years or more down the road, police still don't know how to deal with it properly. And they come in and they're talking all sorts of nonsense. They come and they sit down there to talk about that. Let me bring it back, Mr. Conway. I have a few more things to say. Let me bring it back, Mr. Conway, man. See, I had a lot about in there, and I can't deprive you of the strike. Go ahead, my brother.
Yeah, you're better than the current West Indies team there, man. Score a lot of runs there. And it's true, you know, with this better analysis, even the instrument got to be authorized by the minister. Even the instrument, the minister got to be authorized. So many things. But coming back to this traffic situation, you know, they're trying one fatal accident involving two trucks, and then a president get involved in it. And then I heard the nonsense they're talking about, you know, that they see they make it big headlines in the papers that the drivers were served with notice of intended prosecution. That's a normal thing. That you serve driver with notice of intended prosecution. You could do so verbally. If you are the scene of the accident, and the driver hasn't left the scene, you can verbally inform him. I remember we had to know that, we had to cram that. You will be reported for the question to be considered for prosecuting you for one or more of the offense of reckless, careless, or dangerous driving or exceeding the speed limit. And apart from that, the accident, reckless, careless, dangerous driving, exceeding speed, that within 14 days you have to serve the person with a notice of intended prosecution if you didn't want him at the scene. Or you charge him within 14 days, either you summons him or you charge him, you know. So the thing what they put out there was sure that they're going to work that is serve the person with a notice of intended prosecution. Uncalled for nonsense. But coming back to the traffic, you know, traffic is a holistic approach. And then let me just go back to the trucks there. Who are the owners of the trucks? You talk to the traffic men, and they will tell you government ministers, senior government officials, senior members of the PPP party are the owners of those trucks. And when you hold them, somebody will call you and say, hey, you're humbugging development. You put in a dent in the construction section, in the road project, you know, that kind of thing there, you know. So all of this thing is multifaceted. But the whole thing with traffic is that you need to have a holistic approach. Paul, you mentioned that all the various categories got to be involved, not only truck drivers, all got to be involved, and you must have a holistic approach towards this. And it's got to be data driven. It's got to be data driven. But then when they cock in the data, they mean that their response to the situation will be flawed. It got to be data driven, and based on the data, you utilize your human and other resources, the human and your other resources, the laws and another procedure to deal with it. If it is not data driven, you cannot really bring it under consideration, and all must be involved. I said before, and I say over and over again, not only the traffic ranks, I know the president talking about the traffic ranks, all members of the force got to be involved in it. It has reached a crisis state that all members of the force must be involved in it. And, unless we do that, no among the talking can really assess the situation. I remember they had a very good traffic man, I think he retired super name Webster. And Webster used to say, traffic is road work. That you got for them on the road. That people gotta come out the offices and then pick period and a period and be there to enforce is about enforcement is a major thing there. So unless we have an holistic approach towards this traffic situation, lives and limbs will be in perpetual danger. Lives and limbs. That if we didn't have a holistic approach towards it, if we don't attack it frontally, I'm not talking about talking, we talking about holding meetings sometime early in the morning and things and jump down on everybody. Let the action start on the road. Let me go there. I see they're doing something. They say they make them the case. But ask, there's only part of the process. What are the prosecution? Ask when you mentioned about the traffic ticket situation, and we talk about the ex parte trial. Ask when last a magistrate in any part of this country did an ex parte traffic ticket matter. Ask when last it happened. And them tickets banking up, they banking up, and people then paying them, and you have no ex parte trial, none whatsoever. You ask, let me give you a figure. When last a magistrate had a ex parte trial?
Good question. Good question. Very good question. Folks, continue to share. We ain't done. We got about half an hour more, lot more information to give to you. Continue to share the live. Continue to share the live. And as you see this, the scroll below, I can't forget, the anniversary was last Friday, the 3rd anniversary. I again thank all those of you who have made contributions. Quite a few students have reached out and they have made contributions. Those of you who have not done so yet, please give me a little thing so we can continue to come here, do the research. As you have seen, valuable information. Even lawyers who are here are complimenting us on how we are dealing with these issues. So continue to share the live, and we're going to continue to move on. Now, let me say this. Mr. Conway made a very important point. I hope the traffic ranks know that. That the law is clear, that in order for you to proceed with the charge of dangerous driving, the person must have been warned at the time of the accident, a oral warning, or you have to serve him with a notice of intended prosecution within 14 days. If you don't do that, you can't bring no charge of dangerous driving. So when they come here, they get a corporate propaganda unit, a whole set of civilians that know better, because, the drivers were served with notice of prosecution. That is supposed to, that is mandatory. Mandatory. They either would have warned them, because I think both of them were in the hospital. You warn them of the intended prosecution, or you serve them the notice, and then the investigating rank, whoever warned them, will have to give a statement to say that they were warned. They were warned of intended prosecution. And Mr. Conway read out the formula, which we have to learn. But let me go on and let me say this, because this is one of the biggest mistakes they are making. They are assuming that enforcement by itself and the tweaking of the law according to Robson and Anil Landlal is going to bring about a change. It would not work. This is not only about enforcement. In other words, they're blaming the police. Police got to bear some of the blame, but it's not a police alone arrangement now. This thing has reached epidemic proportions, and therefore the police alone can't pull it back. This requires the police, the Ministry of Education, the Agile Ministry, what they call it, transport. It requires the courts. It requires a whole set of the engineers, individuals, owners of motor vehicles, pedestrians. It requires an holistic approach. And the police can go there and they can issue how many tickets they want to issue. They can lock up how many people they want to lock up. I can't to the extent this quarter. We're coming after them. But you can come how much you want after them. That is not going to bring about a change. Because what they're doing, these tickets issues, it is not sustainable. This campaign mode they're in, they come out and they issue a wholesale ticket. That's what I said. Tickets not paid. So they gone into the campaign mode. That is not going to work. I said it before, and I'm repeating again. The traffic situation currently as stands in Guyana should be declared a national public health emergency. People are dying almost literally every day on the road. And even though they are trying to forge the figures, they call some fatal accident, they call some fatal incident. The fact is, people are dying on the road. Call it accident, call it incident, call it mishap, call it whatever you want to call. The end result is death on the road. And that is what you have to address. Somebody talk, Ivor, let me tell you some other thing. A comprehensive review of the road safety system, comprehensive review. I have some notes here. That says you must establish a National Department of Transportation, DOT, they call it, a Department of Transportation. And the department will deal with administration of law and driver tests, certification of motor vehicles, etc. Riddle me this. Let them answer this. What is the process to determine that those very trucks are roadworthy? Who examines them? What is the qualification of the persons who are examining them? Answer. Let them answer. Ask them. I hope the journalists who are listening would go and ask them that. Driving school. Everybody establishing driving school. No law to govern the establishment of driving school. Nothing to say what qualifies an instructor to be a driving instructor. And then you're wondering to know why you have all these problems in the road. Anybody can say them is driving instructor is a business. Whether they know or not. Now, and not know how to drive, they might very well know how to drive, but the correct rules of the roads and all of that. You know, a few weeks ago, I had an interaction with a guy from Suriname. And he made a very interesting revelation. You know, he told me in Suriname that you cannot go to do the driving test with any automatic vehicle. The driving test has to be done with a manual transmission vehicle. Because they said a manual transmission vehicle allows you to know how to control a vehicle better than this. People don't know how to steer. We call them drivers in Guyana, but they're not drivers. They're just steering. It's just like a video game. They jump there, they put the foot on the accelerator and they steer. When they are confronted with certain dangerous situations, they don't know what to do apart from just hitting the brakes. They don't. They don't. They don't know to anticipate dangers. They don't know all of these things. They don't. So all of these things you have to teach them. We say, we talk about driving school. The age. I note there that the private sector commission came out with a statement, and they're calling for a lot of things. They say police, it suggests, should assign specifically or specially trained undercover mobile traffic enforcement team to detect and enforce traffic laws, violation and such. Parking on blind corners, within regulated distance from corners or prohibited zones. Parking that obstruct the free flow of traffic or opposite another vehicle, call it double parking. Causing congestion. All of these things, everybody come out with all sorts of suggestions. But the main thing they are not addressing, a complete and comprehensive overall of the entire system relating to traffic and driving in Ghana. A complete overall. Complete. I have said some years ago, when they were changing over from the book type license to the ID card type license, that was a good opportunity to weed out a lot of the illegal license in the system. Because when you were changing over, they would have been should be able to check the record to make sure that the person who is presenting him or herself to get this changeover went through the system, and then buy the license. Because you can't avoid, you can't deny that. That too is part of the problem, corruption in the system. A lot of people get driver's license, they never did a test. Either the theory or the practical, never did. They pay somebody some money and they get a license. When the audit was done some years ago by Rohan Singh, who was in charge of the police audit department. He discovered that they were, at least at one time, people went to write an examination. I can get the exact number now, it's just somewhere. And let's say 100 persons wrote the examination. The results show that 100 and something more persons passed than who sat the examination. It's corruption. It is corruption. And all the talk that the talk, the president talked, the extended squatter spoke there just now, the attorney general, none of them are addressing this elephant in the room, you know. And the elephant in the room is corruption. The elephant in the room is corruption. Ranks in traffic, senior ranks in traffic have complained to me that it is very difficult for them to do their work. Because when you pull in certain vehicle, the same siren thing that the president talked. When you pull them in, you got a call to allow the people to go. You got a call that you should allow them to go. President talked about people importing siren and selling siren. Is it a prohibited item? So what prevents them from importing it and selling it? That doesn't mean that they are allowing people to put it on their vehicle. The thing is clear. The law is clear as it relates to siren. Emergency vehicles. And unless they change the definition for emergency vehicle, them thing when they talk about diplomats and they talk about senior government ministers is nonsense. The law defines emergency vehicles, police vehicles, fire service vehicles, and ambulances. They are the categories of emergency vehicles that are authorized to carry emergency appliances, siren and flashing light, none other. President talking about private security. Any private security vehicle with these emergency things is illegal. It is illegal. It is illegal. I remember when Henry Green was commissioner, that thing came up where some people wanted to get flashing light and siren, and Green had to point out to them to the law. So he does, as a commissioner, he does not have that authority. The law says who must carry the vehicles that should carry emergency warning appliances. And unless and until they amend the law, then that is what it is. Police vehicles, fire service vehicles, and ambulances. Nothing else. So here they're talking about, Ben come and talk almost 2 years ago about senior government officials. That is why you get all of these problems. That is why you have all the problems. The laws are there, and everybody knows somebody, so they're going to call, they got siren in the vehicle. And you know the danger about every Tom, Dick, Harry, and Biari getting siren? People are desensitized to the siren. So you're driving, going down the road, and you hear the siren, but you believe maybe it's someone of them, them Prado, all them with Prado, and some vehicles, you're flashing light, and then you're moving over. And even that too, because even the authorized vehicles, police vehicles, ambulances, fire service vehicles, they're abusing the siren sometimes. They're abusing it. Siren on, flashlight on, and there's no emergency. There is no emergency. They go in the supermarket to buy something. In Bobby's, they're using the ambulance to fetch smuggled chicken. All of these things are facts. Facts. And when you talk about it, people vex. But I'm telling you all, like what the social media influencers say, when you want to come after me and Conway and speaking out, you have to make sure your book clean, like them Don't Speak Me school book. You have to make sure that you are clean, like them Dun's people, them Dun's children's school book. You can't come with all them baggage and all them skeleton. You get more skeleton than a graveyard, and you come in here with your nonsenseness according to Nyland. Now, let me tell you some other things that you got to do. Let me tell you something. Somebody mentioned it here. A demerit point system. You have to work towards establishing a demerit point system. So for these repeat offenders that the president spoke about, you have to have a system to deal with him. When I want to come as a recidivist, he can't come from scratch. Because remember, I told you this before to students. When you go before the court, the fact that you had 100 criminal convictions cannot be used to determine whether you are guilty of this particular matter that you in front of the court with. So you're charged with dangerous driving today. They can't use the fact that you had several dangerous driving charges before to determine whether you are guilty or whether you are guilty of this particular offense. That is unconstitutional. That is illegal. However, once you are convicted for this particular offense, then they can use your record to determine what fine is to be imposed, what sentence is to be imposed. That is why you used to get conviction report. That is why you will get probation officer's report. All of these things you got to look at. So as it is now, every time the person go before the court and the person pleads guilty, he start from zero, scratch, it's a zero. Because there's no record to show how many previous convictions and all this stuff. When in sentencing I'm talking about, nothing to show that. Nothing to show that. You have to have a demerit point system. You have to also, as I said, review the old learner driver program. Review. The current program was designed and implemented by me when I was traffic chief, sometime in 1990 something. It was designed, and for those of you who are run out, it was a significant improvement to what was there at the time. I don't know if it's still relevant now. I don't know if it is still relevant. So you have to review all of those things. All of those things got to be reviewed. Then you have some of the, well, a whole set of, I said, is education, is enforcement, is engineering. All of these things have to look at. Not just enforcement, all the talk about how many tickets, enforcement. Be coming after the drivers, enforcement. Education is very important. I have said before, they should spend money to make sure you get, I think the president talk about electronic sign to tell you what speed you're going at and all this. To what effect? You think them drivers who are driving there and know that they're going above the speed limit? You think they do not know that they're going above the speed limit? You need a big, expensive signboard to tell them that they're going above the speed limit? But I suspect that is a way to make sure that some people get contract for bringing all these things and make enough money again. But again, it's a whole comprehensive review you have to look at. Let me bring in Mr. Conway. Again, everything. Seat belts, helmets. You talk about people using cell phone while driving, distracted driving. The people that passed a law recently with electric bikes. If you don't wear helmet and so on, then age group, any little picnic jumping on an electric bike and driving it and all this type of thing. Again, comprehensive. It has to be comprehensive. When you hear 893 cases in a whole year, you know that the thing ain't working. It is not working. Let me bring in Mr. Conway for almost done. Mr. Cece, we ain't even got to go into the other subject. But let me hear your closing, my brother, and let me hear what you got to say before we I give a wrap. Go ahead.
Well, as I was saying in my opening, that this thing would take several episodes to really deal with traffic, but I think we dealt with quite a number of the issues there. And then getting back to the truck, it dawned on me because I read recently that a guy was charged 9 months after he had a fatal accident at the Water Street. 9 months after, he was charged for causing death by dangerous driving and driving an unregistered truck. And I heard they get plenty unregistered truck, plenty truck fittings thing with dealer's plate and all kind of thing there. And briefly, let me say the traffic chief, I understand he's saying that they're having a zero tolerance approach towards this traffic situation. We've got to be careful. Research has shown, I remember when NYPD, they were doing zero tolerance policing, crime went down drastically, but they trample on people's human rights. I remember reading that the city paid out more money in legal fees for persons who sued the state than ever in the history. So we got to be careful with this zero tolerance situation where they will be trampling on persons' human rights. And that is an issue that we got to look at. And there's where the corruption will come into play. You're bringing new laws. Instead of the fine is $10,000, it's $15,000, $20,000. Policeman will say, hey, why, this thing is $20,000, give me a 10. And the policemen say, I went in the station and I heard it saying, hey, that a man say, I only make 10 pints this morning. I got to make some more pints this afternoon. And when I do check it out, I'm thinking, so a pint is $5,000. a pint is 5,000. So they're looking for pints. They're looking for score pints on the road there. But apart from that, they have some excellent traffic ranks, some very good traffic ranks. And I always going to talk about Vice, the inspector when I break down there. Excellent traffic rank, excellent enforcers, and they need to encourage those men who are doing well, and deal with those corrupt men. We talk about the jaguar in the room, the elephant in the room. The corruption got to be properly addressed. And I didn't hear the commission, the extended squatter, nor the attorney general, nor the president utter the word corruption. But I hear corruption is banning in the parliament. So maybe it banned elsewhere. But the thing is that unless we have a holistic approach, things will be back to square one.
Well said, my brother. Well said. And the thing about it, you talk about those good traffic men. They're good policemen in the whole. Not only traffic ranks. You get some good, dedicated, hard-working ranks in the force. But then what happens? Well, coming back to traffic, you made the point, the deadliest road in the country, Region 3, West Demerara. And last year, the man in charge of traffic, they get best cop or runner-up best cop for the division. So what are we saying? What are we saying? Right? What are we saying? So, folks, we talk about traffic comprehensively because, as I said, people dying. Even this morning, next road death. People are dying on the road. And we thought it important to come and to assess and analyze and give them advice again, free advice. But the problem with them, they don't listen to the message. They look at the messengers. So it's slow and Conway. And because it's slow and Conway, we're not going to implement anything that they say. Or even they do it very reluctantly, they try to shade it and cloud it under all type of guise and subterfuge. That's not going to work. Be man and admit that you're going wrong. And not everything we say perhaps can work, but we have said a lot of things that if you consider it carefully, you'll recognize that they get merit to what we are saying because we get experience. I was traffic chief on 2 occasions. I commander for several police divisions. So too was Mr. Conway. And therefore, I think we know what we are talking about. We know what we live it. We experience it. We know what we are talking about. So I would hope that they reflect on what they said on Thursday and they listen to what, because they do listen. They do listen. Or people who listen will tell them. God has asked, what Slow and Conway said today? What Slow and Class what Conway said? And they can tell them, this is going to be on YouTube immediately after we finish here, so they can go back and have a look. They can go back. I know a man from Home Affairs was tasked with monitoring the thing, but what they do? They're monitoring for here you're going to say something bad about them, but then they talk about lawsuit. But all the good things you are advising them, free of cost, free. They implement some, they're not implementing others. But it's up to them. People are dying. People are dying on the road, and it behoves the government to put measures in place to address this craziness on the road. And I say this piecemeal thing what they're doing, they're tweaking law here and they're tweaking law here, they ain't gonna work. So the Attorney General sat there and talked about tweak this legislation. I say you're dealing with a culture of lawlessness. And the culture is not only on the road, in the ministries, in the schools, in every aspect of life is lawlessness. Lawlessness. But as we are talking about traffic, we have given you suggestions as to how you can start to address the lawlessness on the road, because all of us use the road. We have to use the road. So it is important that we address the carnage on the road. And again, we say stop cocking the figures. Own up. Own up. This is what is going on, because unless and until you own up to what is going on, you're not going to be able to implement the correct measures, because you're fooling yourself. You're not fooling us. We know about all the craziness on the road. It's a frightening thing to be on the road, to drive on the road in Ghana. Frightening. You go up on the East Coast in the afternoons, in particular in the afternoon, mornings too, when you're coming down. Lane driving and so on, and minibus, you driving there, the minibus making their own lane inside. And only minibus, private cars too. When you see the speeds of them truck, I normally drive at the speed limit. Some places, the East Coast, it's 65, some places 80. When you get to the school, sometimes you come all the way around to 50. I make sure I comply with that. You're going to be in a let me say, 80-mile zone. And them truck flying past you, heavily laden with sand and other stuff. Whoop, they fly past you. Have to be going at least 100 kilometers when the speed limit is 80. And what happens? Nothing happens. Nothing happens. And that is part of the problem. Every now and again, you see the men out of the road with a speed camera. And you know exactly where they are at souvenir area there. You know that they're under the tree, I forget the type of the almond tree, that they're under the almond tree there, and everybody knows that is where they're gonna be, and therefore people just slow down. Can't do that. Gotta be more tactical than that. Have to be more tactical. And now moving on, let me say this. The last program, Wednesday program, I told you all, I reminded you there was this incident where the police, special branch ranks, fired 88 rounds, 88 bullets at the sergeant in the East Bank, the traffic sergeant. 88, they knocked the car. Some people say maybe they find blank. The matter, they claim to say that the matter was being investigated by OPR, the Office of Professional Responsibility. I understand the matter was investigated. The file sent to the DPP, and the DPP recommend disciplinary charges against 5 ranks. 5. 4 of them have been charged. 4. And the fifth one, it is alleged because he is the driver of Assistant Commissioner Watts. Watts bullying the other people, threatening them. The officer was assigned to inquire into the matter, and the inspector who was assigned to investigate the matter and present the matter, bullying them. Up to now, this driver is not charged. Of the 5 persons who are to be charged, it is alleged that the driver of Mr. Errol Watts, Assistant Commissioner, charge of operations, he has been intervening. In other words, he's perverting the course of justice to ensure that his driver is not charged. How the system can work like that? How it can work? And I call his name. I call his name because I saw stuff. I call his name. It don't work that way. The DPP recommend that he be charged, and you sitting down. And I understand that when the DPP recommend the charge, how the system works, it goes to the commissioner, whoever sits there for review, and the commissioner can send it through. They said that the man must be charged, and Watts, it is alleged that Watts is intervening to ensure that the man who driving it, 4 of them get charged, but this 5th man must get charged. How that can be fair? How that can be fair? And then the bullying the inquiring officer, bullying the presenting officer. That can be fair? It is not. So I hope that nobody will call out, you're going to back off, because they're going to come again, they're going to expose. It's part of the corruption we're talking about. Because remember, corruption is not only taking money, you know. Corruption is not only taking money or taking other stuff. It is wider than that. Now, folks, we had said that we would have dealt with the lawsuit. Anil Nandalal filed a lawsuit against Melly Mel. When we come again Wednesday, we got to deal with that. Wednesday, they got to be the main topic, man. They get a lot of juicy elements there to discuss. But again, we said this traffic thing had to take the lead. And when we come again, God Spare Life on Wednesday, we're going to deal with that. And again, we said to you, if you come in after we, you got to be clean. You got to be as clean as them Dunce children school book. I never ordered one before. I enjoy it. You got to be as clean as them Dunce children school book. I know when you're dunce in school, but I don't know because I was never categorized as dunce. But the assessor that them dunce speak this school book, don't get nothing inside because they're not write nothing. So it's very, very clean. That is what is being said. So we're going to come on Wednesday, and I guarantee you that between now and Wednesday, we're going to get other developments. That is how fluid this thing is. We're going to get other developments, but we're going to put it off, put it on a rain check to deal with it on Wednesday. I have it here, you know, it's public document. It's a public document because it is filed, and once these documents are filed, it's no longer secret. No longer secret, where the Attorney General is saying that Melville calling me a murderer and calling me as other thing, calling me a snitch. Oh my Lord, the thing sweet. They say that on page 13, paragraph 29, it says that they say she claiming that the claimant is a murderer. The claimant has committed a crime against the laws of Guyana. The claimant is unfit to be Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs. The claimant is unfit to be a member of the legal profession. The claimant is unfit to be a leader of the bar. The claimant is unfit to be a member of parliament. The claimant is unfit to be a public figure and a political leader. The claimant is deceitful and untrustworthy. The claimant is unfit to be a member of government and cabinet. Man, all of these things ain't the thing. So make sure you're in school early Wednesday. I'm going to go through it in detail. Make sure. That's what he's saying, no? That is what he's interpreting the assertions made by Melissa Atwell, known as Melly Mel. He's saying that is what she is saying. That is his interpretation. So don't miss class on Wednesday, folks. Don't miss class. So until then, God spare life. We can come again on Wednesday. And again, I urge you, I implore you to stay well. Stay well until then. Until that time, bye. Stay good.